संस्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः।
Dear friends, welcome back to the study of the Bhagavad Gita, and we were studying the 5th chapter. We have just started on it, and we have covered the last 6 verses, 6 shlokas. The main theme of the starting point of the 5th chapter is we are generally confused between two procedures. One is known as karma sannyasa, the other is known as karma yoga. The word karma is the highest common factor between the two, karma sannyasa, karma yoga. Now let us analyze the meaning of the two words. Sannyasa grammatically means samyak nyasa, sannyasa. Samyak means in totality, without any residue left behind, without any leftover, total and complete rejection. Or what? Here he used word the karma. And what is yoga? Yoga is to be in communion with, that is, mentally you are constantly, without any interruption, without any let, without any breaking, you are continuously aware of the presence of something. Here it means the divine. That is the concept of yoga. And that is the concept of sannyasa. What are you going to totally reject without any leftover remaining, without any residue remaining? Expectation of the results of your activity karma. Let us be very practical and commonsensical. When we do something, we are motivated and we are activated to do something. And we say, from common sense point of view, which is a fact, that I am motivated by something that I will gain from this activity. So an expectation of a gain is my motivation. Karma here means that whole gamut of psychic process. I am trying to explain to you what is the distinction between karma sannyasa and karma yoga. If I am not very, very, very alert about the movement of my mind, without my being aware of, without my being conscious of the expectation that is growing in my mind, that I am giving of my very best. Therefore, the listeners should understand it thoroughly, rightly, completely. If I am not alert, if I do not have an hawk's eye on the movement of my mind deep within myself, then this expectation grows in my mind. All that put together is karma. What is karma sannyasa? Karma sannyasa is I do not allow that expectation to grow in my mind. That means I must have the capacity of deep, deep, deep insight of the movement of my mind, and I, with a devoted, determined, disciplined manner, do not allow that expectation to grow in me. Then I am a karma sannyasi. Now, this is what karma sannyasa is, that I perform my duties of life, I perform without any motivation. Not to be motivated by a motivation is karma sannyasa. It's a matter of prolonged disciplinary training, prolonged, determined, devoted disciplinary training. This is karma sannyasa for you. What is karma yoga for you? The teachers make it very convenient and easy for you. How? He says, you believe, you have heard, you believe God is omnipotent, He is everywhere, He is omnipresent. There's not a speck of space where He is not. He is in me, He is in you, He is in the whole cosmos. So why don't I educate myself to convert this type of work in which I am used to work with an expectation? Why don't I convert my concept of work into a concept of worship? And I've told you many times, what is the distinction? In working, in activity, you're physically involved, you're emotionally involved, you're rationally involved, you are egoistical involved. You are involved in these 4 different dimensions, and you are active. Now, you come to this shrine. Whenever you enter the shrine, you are rationally supposed to feel the presence of God in the pictures or statues. They are symbols symbolizing the divine. You are intellectually active. You are supposed to feel their presence and interact with them emotionally. Oh dear Lord, guide me with your compassionate blessings. You are emotionally active, involved. And to express those views, you bow down, you lay flat on your face, and you do pranams to him. You are actively involved. What is the difference between worldly work and this type of work? You are constantly aware of presence of God, and you are emotionally interacting with the awareness of presence of God. So the four activities, egoistic, rational, emotional, and physical, is the highest common factor in the two. The distinguishing fifth factor is awareness of presence of the divine. And immediately you change the word I am active or working, you change it to I am worshipping. So you, by adding the fifth dimension of being aware of the presence of the divine, you have converted your concept of work into concept of worship. And while worshipping, you are told, don't expect anything from him. Give yourself up to him totally. Let him do whatever he likes to do with you. Not even he be pleased with me. Tatra Ishvara api me tushatu iti sangam tvakta. Get rid of that feeling also. Don't be a trader in love. Don't have a business deal with God. Let it be one-sided flow, offering yourself to him in totality. This attitude of performing your duties of life, converting the concept of work into worship, is karma yoga. And that is karma sannyasa, where you are asked with determined, devoted discipline not to allow in your mind any expectation. Now, when you think of it, you will feel this is a better, secure, less risky process. Because you are positively aware of the presence of God all the time. Whereas you are in the subtle domain of your psyche and you do not know how the mind cheats you and how you are left deceived, and you think under self-deception you are a sannyasi, but in fact you are a karma bhogi. So we have been discussing it as deeply and as commonsensically as possible. Now he has said that between the two, karma yoga vishishyate, it excels over the so-called karma sannyasa. So he is trying, Sri Krishna is trying his very best to convince us what is that excellence. Though both of them reach you to the same goal, atyanti dukkha nivritti paramasukha prapti. Total abnegation of the very concept of misery and total saturation with ecstatic divine bliss. That is what moksha and mukti has been universally described. So he says, though both of them reach the same goal, but karma yoga excels over karma sannyasa. Performance-wise, and I can, with my limitation, I can straight away try to convert the concept of work into an endless worship, but to dive deep within my psyche and find out where the grain of expectation is growing, and I stifle it there. Between the two, this is better. Why it is better? He says it is better because he, for all practical purposes, the karma yogi, is for all practical purposes a karma sannyasi. How come? How do you say so? Let us see practically what is happening within our psyche, within our personality. He explains in one of the previous shlokas, Gita sa Nithya Sannyasi. Sa means that karma yogi. Know that karma yogi who has perfected the art of converting his flow of life, whatever it is, the flow of life, into a worshipfulness of the divine. That karma yogi is a Nithya Sannyasi. Why? He has no expectation. His only motivation is to give his whole being to God. And he expects nothing. Non-expectation, total abnegation and rejection, removal of expectation is sannyasa. He has removed it positively. How? He is saturating himself with the offering to God. So, a karma sannyasi, a karma yogi is a Nithya Sannyasi. Why? Jo na dveshti na kankshati. Who is neither averse to this world, nor he is attached to this world. He expects neither pleasure, or neither he is averse to pain. Come what may in his life, he knows it is God's good blessings. Jo na dveshti na kankshati sa karma yogi Nithya Sannyasi Gita. That type of karma yogi is Nithya Sannyasi. Nirdandhoi Mahabaho. He says there is no duality in him. Pleasure and pain, happiness and sadness, ecstasy and agony, these are the dualities, two extremes of a swing of a pendulum. That is dvandha, dual throng. That dual throng has disappeared. As soon as his duality, the dual throng disappears, he is capable of experiencing his true original nature. Nirdando hi Mahabaho, hey Arjuna, you are full of power, you have a prowess. Why don't you use your prowess to manage yourself? Now you are unable to manage yourself. You do not know what to do, what not to do. Why don't you use your prowess to manage yourself? That is how he inspires Arjuna, and through Arjuna inspires all of us. He says, a person who is not a victim of this dual movement of the mind, he sukham bandhat pramuchyate. He gets rid of the bondage of this world. And what is the main cause of bondage? Expectation from this world is the cause of bondage. And he's expecting nothing from this world, so he can immediately, quickly be rid of this bondage. He becomes one with the divine. We have studied all this, and I am again reminding you, refreshing your memory. Now, another statement Sri Krishna is making in shloka number 7, which is extremely important from the point of view of understanding, from the point of view of performing, and the point of view of assessing how far you have gone on this path. All these 3 points are mentioned here. So please pay attention and try to understand the inner import of this verse. Verse number 7. Yoga yukta vishuddhatma vijita atma jitendriya sarvabhutatma bhutatma sarvabhutatma bhutatma kurbannapi nalipyate. While I see him performing the duties of life according to the flow of life, but he knows he is not involved. This is the meaning of the last quarter of the sloka. Who is that person? The first word is yoga yukta. It leads to the next word, vishuddha atma. That leads to the next word, vijita atma. Leads to the next word, jitendriya. That is the first line. A person who is yoga yukta. Let us stop here. Let us try to understand what Sri Krishna is driving at. We know the word yoga to be in constant communion with. It is a mental activity. I am constantly in communion with the ideas emanating from this study for this time being. And I am doing it without any interruption, without any let, without any break, without any hindrance. Constant. Yoga is communion with something. Here that something is the awareness of presence of the divine. This is conceptually known as yoga. Yoga yukta means he who has put it into practice. I understand, but I don't do anything about it. It does not help me. I am only crowding my brain with all sorts of information. I am a very well-informed information counter clerk. My personality is not changing. Therefore, the word yoga has been added to with the word yoga yukta. Yukta means one who is in constant practice. What is that constant practice? Constant awareness of the presence of the divine throughout my flow of life, and I am aware of the presence of the divine all around the cosmos. Yoga Yukta Munir Brahma Achirena Adhigacchati. We have read before. Such an introspective person whose journey is inwards, not outwards, such a person is known as Mananashila Muni, a person who is constantly aware of the journey within himself. And what is that journey? To be aware of the presence of the divine, and he puts it into practice. He is yoga yukta. He is a yogi, he is a yoga yukta purusha. If he is so, he is pure at heart, Vishuddha Atma. Why? All the dirt and filth and dross of his life, of his personality, has slowly and slowly been washed away. And I give you an example. I've used it many a times. I don't know whether I've told you in respect to this. Let me repeat that example. How do you, by being yoga yukta, how do you become pure at heart? How is your personality totally purified? How? What is the procedure? How does it happen? I'll give you an example. We generally, in old days in Calcutta, here I don't know whether it is there or not, there were two systems of water supply. Filtered drinking water, hygienically pure, and unfiltered water for the toilets and other use which is not required to be filtered or required to be hygienically clean. Hygienically pure and hygienically not pure, but filtered, no floating dirt in it. And they had two different uses. One for drinking, must be healthy, and the other for washing, cleaning, flushing, and etc., etc. The tank used to be at the topmost level of the house, and water used to come in, I'm talking about filtered water. Water used to come into the tank, and at the bottom of the tank there used to be an outflow and outtake, as it were. From that pipe, all the taps and faucets for filtered drinking water is connected. Now, for prolonged use, without being cleaned, because of the tank, and the tank is of metal and etc., because however pure the water is, there are few chemicals. So after a prolonged use, there is a sedimentation of dirt at the bottom of the tank. And when you open your when you open your tap in the wash basin, you find dirty water coming out. You cannot do without water, but you do not want dirty water. Use your common sense. What do? You take a stick or a brush or a broom and you churn the tank water vigorously. You open the pure water inflow and you open all the taps. What happens? Pure water is flowing in. Because of your churning it, the dirt has mixed up with water and it is under pressure coming out of all the taps, and you sit quietly. After a while, all the dirty water will pass out of your taps and the tank will be again full of pure water, and that water will come out of your taps. You have done it. This is an example. My personality is the tank. And because of my raga and dvesha, attachment and expectation from the world, both attachment and aversion, is the dirt that I am accumulating within me. Karma is performing my duties of life. As because I have not trained, disciplined, educated myself, initially I will expect my boss will be pleased with me. And the ultimate boss, God, will be pleased with me. And I forget it occasionally. So what happens? The effort of convert work into worship is the fresh water coming into the tank. Every moment you think of the divine in your life, you are purifying yourself. And while working, it is a tug of war between remembering the divine and forgetting the divine. That is what my life is. And I am performing my duties of life, churning myself, always trying to remember the awareness of presence of God. Remembering and forgetting is like a tug of war. Once pulling this side, once. A time will come when the container will be pure with purified water, because all the dirt has gone out. This is the position of a yoga yukta purusha. Purusha here means both the genders, ladies and gentlemen. So what happens? By constant awareness of the divine, you are in the process of being and becoming one with the divine. What you think, so you become, is an English idiom. In Sanskrit language, it is said, tadakara akarita bhavati. You become one with what you are thinking. You think of evil, you become evil. You think of goodness, you become good. You think of nobility, you become noble. You think of miserly things, you become a miser. What you think, so you become. How? Your personality is being saturated with that idea. Tat akara akarita bhavati. Whatever your vritti is, you become one with that vritti. So, if you are yoga yukta purusha, then you will be Vishuddhatma. Your heart will be totally purified. What is the definition of purity? No idea but the divine arises in your mind. It's the play of the divine, it's the will of the divine, it's the hand of the divine, it is the wish of the divine. And I am in him, I am with him, I live for the sake of serving him, that too by his blessings. Nothing but God in my life. This is Yoga Yukta Purusha's culmination. That is what he achieves. And in another word, Vishuddha Atma. He has thoroughly purified himself. When he has thoroughly purified himself, he knows this body is mine. So, because of the pure mind, the body is unable to do anything which is unimpure. That is what it is. Excuse me. The Vijita Atma here means he has a total control on the movement of his body. Because his mind does not know what is stealing, his body will not steal. Vishuddhatma leads to total control on the movement of your body. Jitendriya, Yoga Yukta, Vishuddhatma, Vijitatma, and the last word of the first line of the shloka is Jita Indriya. In other words, what do you mean by total control of your body? Your sense organs are totally under your control. You look at something, you are no more attached. You look at something, you are no more averse. Love and hate both have disappeared. Rather, universal love have saturated you. That's what happens. You can't stop it. Yoga Yukta is the first step. And what is Yoga Yukta? Yoga is to be in communion with the awareness of presence of the divine. Yukta means you have brought it down to the level of day-to-day performance without any break, without any hindrance, without any let. Constant. If you do so, you become Vishuddhatma, you become Vijita Atma, you become Jitendriya. And thereby what happens? Sarva Bhuta Atma, Antara, Sarva Bhutanta, Sarva Bhuta Antaratma, Sarva Bhutantaratma, Sarva Bhuta Antara Bhuta Atma. What does this complex word means? You know what happens in reality? When by being a Yoga Yukta Muni or a Yoga Yukta Yogi or a Yoga Yukta Manava, Purusha, what happens to you? Your Ishtadev, whom you know as Parameshwara, who is everywhere, he is totally saturating you. And then a time comes when the form of that Ishtadev melts away, but his presence totally saturates you. You were so long aware of the presence of your Ishtadev with a name, with a form, with qualities, with utilitarian value. Nama, Rupa, Guna, Artha Kriya Karitva. You have that. When you saturate yourself totally, he, out of sheer compassion on you, appreciating your achievement, he slowly and slowly melts away. But his awareness of his presence remains. And you are one with Achirena Brahma Gacchati. That is, without any delay, you merge with the spirit of the universe. Sarvabhuta Antaratma. That is, he who is in each and every manifestation, that is in the domain of Nama, Rupa, Guna, Arthakarita, name, form, qualities, utilitarian value. He represents all of that. But slowly and slowly and slowly, out of sheer compassion for you, because of your achievement and attainment and your efforts, he is pleased, and all by himself he disappears, he dissolves his name, he dissolves his form. And what remains is indescribable but experienceable. It is experienceable but no more anything to describe upon, because the four concepts of description has gone. Sarvabhutantaratma, Sarvabhutatma Bhutatma, Kurbannapi na lipyate. Now this is the ultimate understanding. Such a person who starting his life as a novice, as a yoga yukta Muni, that is a person, Mananashila, that is a person who is trying to be introspective instead of being an extrovert, he is trying to be an introvert, and the subject matter of his introvert is he is aware of the presence of the divine. He keeps on practicing it. And more he practices, more he saturates his being. More he is purifying himself or herself. And ultimately, he totally purifies himself or herself. And then he becomes pure, absolutely. His body does not do anything which is immoral, unethical. And because of that, his sense organs are all within his control. How? I will give you an example. How do you measure the sex control? You walk down the street. You see something and you appreciate the beauty of it. And don't go further. That beauty is God's beauty reflected in that object. And don't try to think, oh, how I wish I get it, how I wish I acquire it. Don't do that. You see the beauty of the thing, you appreciate the utility of the thing, you see everything in it. Don't get attached. Don't develop that attitude of acquisition. That is Gita Indriya for you. If you do so, by God's grace, you will outgrow the limitation of this body-mind complex. And don't say it is impossible. That which is impossible takes a little time and practice. I will tell you why it is not impossible. I will tell you why it is not impossible. We are all born in different corners of the world. And firstly, we identify ourselves with the parents, my father, my mother, and my place of birth. That is how my identity in this world starts. Then my identity increases with my growth of awareness, with my age. Oh, he is my grandfather, she is my grandmother, she is my aunt, he is my uncle. Mine, my uncle, my aunt, my grandfather, my grandmother, my father, my mother. Then my friends. All belong to me. I am identifying themselves separate from me, but they belong to me, they are close to me, they are near to me. Please grow. I am an Indian, I am a Gujarati, I am from Bhavnagar, I am from Calcutta. I am from this locality of Calcutta. Calcutta is in Bengal. Bengal is in India. India is in Asia. Asia is in a whole world. Out of the 5 continents or 7 continents, I am there. And I am a human. 4 quadrillion and more are humans. And I am one of them. My identity started with my father and my mother, firstly with my mother, and then by place of birth. And now I identify myself with one of the 4 quadrillion. Is not my identity growing? Now think of the last step. According to all the scriptures, we are all children of God. The Bible says we are children of God. The Upanishad says, Amritasya Putra. A change in word, difference in word, the spirit is the same. We are one. That oneness is slowly and slowly dawning into me. Sarva Bhutantarantaratma. Sarva Bhuta Atma Bhuta Atma. Sarva Bhuta Atma Bhuta Atma. I am that spirit. Then my work appears to you like any other ordinary work, but in me that attachment has gone. Kurvannapi nalipyate. I do, but I don't get involved or attached. So you see now, dears, in this 7th shloka, Sri Krishna has collected all the 4 aspects of studying Gita thoroughly, correctly, properly. It is informative, it is educative, it is instructive, and it is descriptive. What will happen to you, a novice who starts today, when you achieve the goal, what will happen to you? Now let me read the shloka for you. Yoga Yukta, please remember now. I will read slowly so that you have time enough to refresh your memory. Yoga Yukta, therefore Vishuddha Atma, therefore Vijita Atma. Here the word Atma means Shariram, the body-mind complex. And then Jitendriya. Yoga Yukta, therefore Vishuddhyatma, therefore Vijitatma, therefore Jitendriya. Therefore Sarvabhutatma Atma. Sarvabhuta Atma. Bhutatma. You are the eternal spirit. That happens at the last stage by the grace of the compassionate divine. She is that stage. It cannot be available by your efforts. It is kripa labdha, na sadhana labdha. It is not sadhana labdha. You don't generate it by your effort. If you generate it, it will not last long. It will be temporary. But if it by God's grace, it is eternal. Sarva bhutatma bhutatma kurbannapi. Though I see him intensely living in this world, he is not involved. Na lipyate. This is how the seventh shloka has been understood: informative, educative, instructive, descriptive. And next two shlokas, the description will be elaborate. The 8th and the 9th shloka, which we leave for the next discourse. Thank you, dears. Thank you ever so much.
Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.